Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, dear friends, dear viewers. And today uh, we will check the games and the results of World Rapid Chess Championship. First playing day, some big surprises. Let's go. So we will start with the games of Magnus Carlsen. Uh, Yes, just to say, maybe about a week ago, Magnus won a Champions Chess Tour finals in Oslo. It was rapid time control, slightly different. Here, players are having 15 minutes plus 10 seconds increment, and in Oslo, it was 10 minutes plus 2 uh, seconds increment, if I'm not mistaken. Let's start. Yes, first round, Magnus, uh, very decent, very high rated Grandmaster Liang Wander with the black pieces. And I should say that Liang has close to 2700 classical rating. So let's see what has happened in that game. E45, very solid by Liang. Takes. Yes, rook e8, black is threatening. And bishop g4. Magnus doesn't play c takes d, goes bishop g4. And here we know that f3, bishop h5, d takes c. I don't think Liang was really playing for a draw. Probably he wanted to play solid, but not really for a draw, because if just f3 and taking on c6, I don't think black has any chances to really fight uh, for a win. But here we see knight e2 and h3 and c4. Takes, queen e7, queen b3. Slightly better position for white. And again, white is slightly better. Yeah, so far Magnus plays all the strongest moves, and now we see that g3 is the only move. Again, I don't think really much is happening. Magnus now doesn't have any problems, and he's trying. And after some attempts, not really taking on a3 because of check on h8. Yes, Magnus has less than 1 minute and opponent has less than 2 minutes. He's trying. Yes, and game of course ended in a draw. So Magnus didn't have any real chances in this game, but of course he wasn't risking also. I should say that previously I remember starting rounds of World Rapid Chess Championship always very tough. Uh, I remember maybe in uh, Poland, 2021, Magnus had completely drawish position with the white pieces against Merab Kagunashvili. Uh, Somehow Magnus managed to win that game. Second round, I had white pieces against Magnus. Uh, Game ended in a draw. Yes, sometimes Magnus doesn't start with all his strength. Okay, let's see. Second game, he was playing another very decent player, Denis Kadric. Kadric drew first game with the white pieces against Jan Nepomniachtchi. And here we see Magnus goes knight c3, and instead of taking knight c3, knight f6. Yes, this, and here not short castle, probably because of some bishop g4. Magnus goes this, or maybe against knight c6. So do we have knight c6 here? Yes, we do have. And why not short castle? Maybe because of bishop g4, but engine doesn't really show bishop g4. Okay, Magnus played h3, rook e8 short castle, knight bd7, rook e1 h6, a4, a5, bishop f4, white is slightly better. Takes queen d2, c6, rook e1, queen d8. And here bishop g3, engine also recommends some g4 stuff. Bishop g3, queen b6, knight h4. If queen takes b2, how do we continue? Rook b1, queen a3, and queen is getting, yes, rook b1, queen a3, queen e1, d5, knight f5, and then rook b3. Queen b4, knight f5, knight b6 here, knight h6, g takes h, bishop f4. Not easy, of course, to see anything like this. Yes, here, of course, d4 is not hanging because of bishop h7. Yes, king h8, queen f4, bishop e6, and knight g6, knight takes f8, queen takes d6, and Magnus sees rook e6 as well, and he goes for it, and knight e4. Despite being an exchange down, but is much better. And here knight bd7 would have been the strongest, queen e6, king h8, knight d6, queen d4. White is much better, knight d5 by Denis takes this and knight d6, and this is already winning. This and queen e7, very good move. Queen takes b7, queen e7 again, knight f7, and takes, and queen f6, queen g6, and c takes d, and here Denis resigned. Yes, very good game by Magnus. Slowly he uh, outplayed his opponent, and I think all started from this game. Third round, he was playing Gleb Dudin, and recently Dudin Gleb also played against Fabi in US Masters or maybe in St. Louis Masters, and he lost that game with the white pieces. And here we see bishop g4 line, yes. I played myself against Royal and 92 by Dudin. I think Royal against me played knight f3. So this Magnus plays knight bd7, queen c2, g5, bishop g3, c6. Yes, some very deep idea, knight c1, probably with the intention to get knight on d3. And Magnus goes knight h5, takes the bishop, goes knight f6, bishop f5, takes queen d7, takes knight d3, h5, king d2, bishop d6, around equal position, and slowly Magnus starts getting some advantage. a3, b6, maybe not the best move, but king f5, bishop e7, knight e8. So this b4, rook c1, rook e8, and Magnus is slightly better. Rook b8, yes, bishop a3 if I take, some rook a1 might come, rook b1, a6, takes, king f5, attacking the pawn on e3. Yes, here rook b1, knight d6, king e6, king b1, king d6. And now Magnus is in trouble and even maybe lost. Yes, and here very simple tactical idea, knight d5, knight d5, e4, king f6, he takes d, bishop d4, d6. But Dudin had only 41 seconds. He went a4 and king g6. Probably Magnus noticed that knight d5 is coming, but yes, not maybe king g6 he could go. But anyway, position was already lost. So this knight e6, this knight c5, and bishop takes c5, d takes c. Evaluation is already +3, and here just d4 finishes the game. Let's say if d4, I guess we just jump knight d5 or d takes c, king d2. Okay, a5, king e7, king b2, king d7, king a3, and this knight d7, knight a4, e4, d4, knight e2, d3, knight c3, and then taking on c4, knight a4, knight f6, knight c3, knight d7, and eventually e4, d4, knight e2, d3, knight c5, d2, king d4 would finish the game, e5, knight e4, knight d1, knight g3, and here game slowly ended in a draw. Yes, Magnus already can take on e5, but he tries a few more moves, and then yes, game ended in a draw, but of course Magnus was in huge trouble, was completely lost. Yes, usually Magnus doesn't get such positions against such players. And the fourth round, he was facing Alexander Shimanov, and Shimanov goes French against Magnus. This, and here knight c6 was played in Gukesh Ding match. Knight c6, a3, c takes d f6 by Shimanov. Knight f4, e takes f, knight takes f6, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, bishop d6, bishop b5. Maybe bishop d3 would have been better. Bishop d7, bishop c6, b takes c, knight a4, queen c7, knight e5, and here knight e4. And if something like f3, how do we f3 c5? Bishop e3 c5. Yes, f3 c5. Probably this Shimanov didn't see, otherwise he would play knight e4, no doubts. Yes, bishop e8, but now white is having some control over dark squares. White is of course better. Bishop f4, knight e4, bishop g3, c5. Now Shimanov tries, takes, rook c1, d takes c, rook e3, rook b3, knight f2, queen d6. Still white is better after queen d6, queen d4. So knight f2 takes knight d1, rook b3, a5, and here rook c7 would finish the game. King h8, h3. So takes, of course, another uh, good move. White is completely winning. Knight d4. Yes, Magnus has 4 minutes and Shimanov has only 20 seconds, and position is winning for Magnus, and especially with such a nice uh, technique like Magnus has, shouldn't be very hard to convert this position. But something that I didn't see very long time, when Magnus is having is being ahead on clock and having winning or close to winning position, and later on he even gets lost position. Bishop e5, a4, rook c1, rook a7, stopping rook c7 check, knight c6, and now evaluation is +3, knight b4, rook c7, knight c6, and now evaluation is +2 again. Yes, and here Magnus doesn't see rook f4, king d3, rook d4, king c2, knight b4, which is not that easy, I should say. And already Magnus has less than 30 seconds. And again, Shimanov also has less than 30 seconds. And now Shimanov is back to the game. Evaluation is equality and king d3. For example, rook h3 was there. What's the point? If you go king e4, then rook h4, rook a4. If you go king c2, knight d4, king e2, knight d4. And if king d2, I assume we just how do we continue? Do we go bishop c3, or no? We just take rook b3, takes bh4, of course, and then h5. So king e4, rook h4. Yes, this Magnus pushes the pawn. This rook c7, king e4. Shimanov finds this king e4. Now rook c6. Black is threatening, and now a3. Another great move by Shimanov. And now check, and now rook c1, and now rook f2. Black is slowly getting. Yes, we should admit that Shimanov this part of the game played very good. a3, rook b1, rook c1, rook f2. Also earlier king e4, and this. And of course now Shimanov doesn't have any problems, and Magnus started panicking, and especially king g4 and king h5, and this is already lost. Rook g7, rook g7, rook c6, this is already winning -5. So this Shimanov pushes, and then he finds this great idea of going this. And now I do have some very... I was watching this round and this game almost live, and like queen g4, like what was hard in this, and he had, he had like, as you can see, more than 1 minute, like just you go queen g4 and king h7, h6, or like King f7, you just go queen f5, and then you are simply trading the queens. Let's say this, you just go check, takes, and now this is probably he saw this a4, d4, a5, and now if you push d3, then a6, d2, a7, d1, a8, but you just play king d5. a6, king c6, of course, maybe king d7, and you play king c5. And if a6, king b6, and if this, you just go king b5, or even maybe d3 also wins. Yes, you have king b5, but this is also winning for black. Queen d6. Yes, king b7, there is queen d7, king a6, queen b5, king a7, queen b6, king b7, queen d7, king b8, king b6. King c8, we play this, and we do play this. And now what to do? Again, king a6, there is queen d6, king a5, queen b6, king a7, queen b6, king b7, queen d7. Yes, this is completely winning. But Shimanov didn't see this, and he went in this position. Instead of going queen g4, he played queen g1, and this is already not winning. No, this is actually still winning, but yes, -4. He pushed, and Magnus started, and the game ended in a draw. And round 5, Magnus had 2.5 points out of 4. Of course, very shaky start. And he was facing another tricky opponent, Denis Lazovic. And Magnus goes for Slav defense and takes. Maybe not the best opening choice by Magnus. He allowed Lazovic to get very simple play. And here a6, rook c1, bishop f5. This considered close to equality. Queen b3, rook a7, not the best move again. And now white is better, knight d7. Otherwise, Magnus probably didn't like. Why not short castle? Which move Magnus didn't like? Knight h4, maybe knight a4 or h3. Knight a4. Yes, maybe he had intention to push g5 and get some complicated position. And here he could take on e5. He went short castle and bishop g3. Great move by Lazovic. And now h3. Takes knight h2, knight f6, queen d1. And surprisingly, black cannot really protect this pawn on g4. And I don't think black has any enough or real compensation for the missing pawn. And just healthy extra pawn. And let's see, did Magnus manage to get some counterplay? Yes, but we see that Lazovic plays very good, and Magnus has only some weaknesses on f5, d5, and white has very safe king. And here knight g6 was there, probably Lazovic didn't see it, and eventually he goes for it. Yes, knight d2, knight g1, g takes h, knight h3. Yes, sometimes even these kind of positions are not easy against Magnus to win, but Lazovic has, of course, some experience playing Magnus. And Magnus here in this position resigned. 2.5 points out of 5. Magnus is not in a good shape, at least first playing day, but previously he also had difficulties in starting rounds, especially first playing day. And let's see, only 8 rounds left. Can Magnus come back? He is going to have very bad tournament, because previously Magnus has shown us that one bad day he can uh, uh, kind of come back uh, after having one bad day. Let's see. Let's see. Thank you very much, dear friends, dear viewers. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and press like button. See you.